Hello, everyone, if you are here. Sometimes it's kind of such a mystery, right? Like if people, if people are around. And anyway, I mean, I cannot tell. I think I can tell that there's like one subscriber on, although it could be myself testing my stream at the same time. That's what I do, right? So just to make sure I can see myself and all of these things. So thank you for being here if you are here, even if you're watching it afterwards. I know too there's a soccer game going, that went on. I think it's already done by now. And that's the reason why I thought I would have a delayed start, not knowing there could be folks that are maybe watching the game. They were watching the game. So, well, interestingly, right, that's the World Cup game coming to, the final four, but right now is actually already determined. And I'm really so impressed too, I think, by some of the teams, right? Especially, it's kind of interesting too. I was in Morocco, for DevOps, the conference. So it's real nice, so it means something to me. The Moroccan team actually got into semifinal. It's such a big thing. And the thing is, I like about it is the fact that it played out so well that they're like for the semifinals, there were actually teams, Argentina, and then also France, and then Croatia, and then Morocco. So each kind of representing different continents. I mean, it would be nice too if actually there's also representation, let's say, from Asia. That would be nice. Right? One from, the primary continents, let's put it that way. Because I don't think there are teams from Antarctica or teams from, well, I should say too, well, now there's South America, but just not North America. So I think there are 7 continents, right? North, South America, Europe, Asia, Africa, and Oceania. I think Antarctica, right? Am I correct? Or did I miss something? Let me do it again. North, South America, Asia, Europe, Africa, and what else? Yeah, help me now. And Antarctica. I keep saying there's one. Is it Arctic? Is also another one. Actually, maybe you know what? Let me take a look. Sometimes too, it doesn't hurt, right? To kind of check things. It's kind of funny, but let me kind of switch myself because now I'm kind of blocking everybody. So okay. So anyway, there's actually some code that I was gonna look at today, but let's take a look. Sometimes you gotta go back to some basics. Isn't it terrible? 7 continents. I studied them when I was in primary school. Let me kind of make sure. 7 continents in order. In order. What is it? Okay. Asia, Africa, North America, South America, Antarctica, Europe. Oh, Australia. I did not know. I think Australia is count as a continent. Probably. Well, it must be then if it's kind of listed that way. But anyway, because that's what I was thinking. Yeah, and I forgot about that. I thought it was the Arctic is another continent. But I was gonna say, right, like given semifinals of the final four teams in the World Cup, representation, I think, is from South America, Africa, and two European teams. So I was just gonna say it would be nice, right, if it's a little bit more spread out evenly. But of course, it doesn't always play out that way. I mean, not that I don't enjoy watching games, but it just seems like World Cup it should involve more teams. But of course, the way it plays out is that from the 32 teams, and each region has their specific assigned number of teams, and based on, I think there are certain rules, right? And I don't recall exactly. So for those of you who are like much more in tune with what's going on, you can tell me exactly. But anyway, so here we are today. So just wanted to say hello. Let me say hello and welcome, and just really appreciate you being here. And again, today too, it's more like an episode. I call this sort of like resuming my coding work. I have to admit that I haven't really sat down and done any serious coding for a long time. I think since the last time I probably did a stream was like in May or June, maybe. But even then, too, I think I had a lot of travels. Then all of a sudden, I was traveling a lot, and that's part of my job as developer advocate and going out outreach. But at the same time, too, traveling can be quite exhausting, as you know, right? We go to places and not just going because there are no persons at my company who's helping. They're, well, everybody is on their own. So as you know, right, even if we make our own travel going on vacation, it takes a long time. You got to pick your flights and pick your hotel, do all of these things, and then of course too, in our case too, we have to write expense reports, things like that. It's just the whole travel. It's exciting being able to see people, meet people, and like I said, I met a lot of great folks too here on this Twitch channel, and kind of made friends too, so to speak. And among whom is App Boy from, and he moved actually closer to me now in Indianapolis. I think I shared with you some pictures last time, so it's been nice. And then also with Fusnabo from Norway, who also I got to meet, and then also this amazing two gentlemen, really like nice gentlemen from Ghana, right? Isaac, right? Isaac also, I met him at the conference virtually. Finally, the conference, in Lithuania, had the in-person. Last year they started in person, but most people were still doing virtual. So I spoke virtually 2021. And so now 2022 was finally the kind of getting back to in person. And then Isaac also went, and that was so nice, being able to meet him in person. We had tea together, and we even have dinner together one night too. And it's just great, being able to come out and meet with people and chat. It just makes a lot of difference. Not like talking with people on Zoom. It's better than none, but it's not the same as if you can actually see people and like enjoy a meal together, something like that, right? So anyway, I really enjoyed that. So getting back to coding, right? And I also have to say to even I feel like all of these things, and plus I wanted to share with you the last travel I did was about 10 days ago, right? So I came back home on the 3rd, I think on 3rd of this month, December 3rd. In fact, was like midnight, so it qualifies as the 3rd. That was actually for the Amazon AWS conference. So that's the reInvent, right? So Amazon, and it's got 56,000 people. Now that's actually by far the biggest like tech conference I've ever been to. But of course, to that being a product or company vendor focused conference, it has a different focus too. I think it's just more about selling things, the marketplace. So even the conversations weren't so much about technical stuff, I felt. I mean, there were a bit of those, and especially when I was helping out at my company's booth, we have representations, but there were also lots of swag, right? That was given out. Our company actually gave out a bunch of really nice and cool T-shirts, and I should actually share with you the T-shirts because I bet you would like one too. So if you can hold on a second, let me see if I can find an image of that and then share with you here because if you're interested too, I will be very happy to, if you don't mind, let's say sharing with me your address, right? Then I can mail them to you, and that's the goal. The thing is too is that so far we have T-shirts for Cassandra, Apache Cassandra, and that's what was given out. But I work with Apache Pulsar, so that's something I'm going to start to work with. Our company is small, so I have to do everything. And in fact, I'm trying to come up with a design for the T-shirt. So you can share with me, the kind of style of T-shirt that you like. But let me try to get this T-shirt image to show that to you. I bet you like it because everybody liked that T-shirt so much. We actually we get 2,000 T-shirts, but guess what? They were all given away. It was just unbelievable for 4 days of conference. Not quite four, it's kind of 3.5 because the first day was a half-day conference, and it was just unbelievable. So I just found the image. So let me kind of share with you. Let me go over here. Let me do this one thing, and I will open up this file. I download it here. Here we go. Oops. Here we go. Okay, well, this is kind of small, but let me see if I can make it big. Isn't it cool? So okay, so this is the print. That's what it looks like, and like I said, it was gone. Within like 4 days. This T-shirt. We have intention of printing more too. So again, folks, if you are here, and even if you're after hours, you're viewing this, if you are interested in the T-shirt, feel free to message me here on my Twitch channel and let me know. Just tell me. Or you know what? And of course, how can I have forgotten that too? You can either message me here on Twitch or connect with me on my Discord channel. Then I can speak with you because sometimes on Twitch, I don't necessarily get the notification for some reason, even though I said I want to receive notification, but sometimes I don't get them. But on Discord, that's more instant too. If somebody sends me message, actually, I do get them right away. So let me share with you my, where is it? Wait, it's kind of funny. Like, where did it go? Okay, here we go. So I will share with you my Discord server. So the one up here, right? The Discord server. Let me kind of make sure it works because what happened is that I'm noticing, right? Let me kind of share with you over here too. Mary's Discord server. Actually, I think I also share it on my Twitch channel too, but just for your convenience, let me print them out because it was strange. There were cases in which people said that the link expired, but I also realized that there was a typo too. So let me try this in here, see if it works. Yes, it works. So okay, so cool. So yeah, so again, if you like this T-shirt, and there are also new T-shirts, I promise you, it will be just as good, if not better, T-shirt. And this one, okay, that I'm showing you is for Cassandra. But the one that I'm going to make, that I'm still designing, right, it's actually for Apache Pulsar. So I like to also have sort of like a similar type of design. So let me see. It's just going to take a bit of time. And then if anybody would like a T-shirt, join me on my Discord server and then let me know. Message me there and said, I like a T-shirt. You can directly message me there and give me your address too, and then I can mail them to you when they are ready. So we can mail anywhere in the world too. So that's very nice. So okay, so that's that. And okay, let me kind of not bother you with this thing right now. Let me hide it now. Okay, all right. So that's that. So that's our T-shirt. So just wanted to share with you more T-shirts to come. Okay, so here we go. Let me see, right? We talk about the continents, about World Cup, and about T-shirts, and now I wanted to actually kind of bring this up because I'm thinking, okay, coding projects. Actually, I have a few of those, but one of which too is the fact that I got asked by a lot of folks, right, that about because I'm talking about Apache Pulsar. And again, if you are new to Apache Pulsar, I just wanted to share with you, right? It's an event streaming platform. So if you are already inclined, or you know about it, already using Apache Kafka, then it is Pulsar. Its functionality is similar to what Kafka does. It is a messaging system, so essentially, too, it's like messaging, and then it distribute messaging to receivers, right? So you have to write your code as client code to interact with the message broker. In that case, now the difference is that Kafka was designed back maybe in the 2000 late 2010s, kind of like that, or actually kind of close to 2010, like 2008 or 9, kind of that time frame. Pulsar also came out not long after that, but Apache Pulsar or Kafka, though, at the time was designed, it actually came from LinkedIn because they realized they need a bit more modern messaging infrastructure. Because it used to be, right, they're, being used would be message queue, MQ, right, like IBM MQ series, or such as like RabbitMQ, and they make use of AMQP, that protocol. Some of those are kind of more message-oriented messaging systems. They are older, right? A bit more restrictive. Plus, they weren't, being designed. Back then there was no cloud server, so it wasn't designed for that. So Kafka actually came out about the time when the cloud was becoming the thing, right, so to speak. And but still, Kafka's concern was mostly with dealing with the large number of messages, being very scalable, all of those things. But it does not, or did not, take into so much account of the fact that the event messaging infrastructure needs to operate in the cloud, in a cloud environment. So when the Yahoo people kind of decided, well, we need a kind of a modern messaging systems, and they look at, okay, Kafka is not bad, but it doesn't handle issues or kind of scenarios such as in a cloud environment, right? You have a cluster of servers running in an infrastructure, different nodes, all of these things. So we want the system to be very flexible, very scalable, meaning that I may want to add another server to this infrastructure or node, all of these things. Then how do you deal with, messaging systems, especially messages can be partitioned, right? Partition meaning that you can have brokers that are running on multiple servers. They spread throughout this whole cluster of servers. And if you add another server, you need to balance, right? How do you balance it, right? And it's already messages already, in this particular partition. How do you balance it? So in Kafka's infrastructure is that it doesn't have that built-in knowledge of such thing. You can do it too. You can have to do rebalancing yourself. So in other words, the burden will be on your programmers, the developers, to have to worry about balancing, right? You need to scale it. It's just harder to do. It's just more like you have to do a lot of manual steps. Whereas Pulsar, it was designed at the time knowing that, well, we need to take care of this kind of concern. So it's very much a multi-cluster, cluster-aware type of messaging. So it brings the messaging to another level, to another like infrastructure level that, any development environment, operating environment need to be aware of. So that's the advantage of using an event streaming platform such as Pulsar. It's just more natural to running in the cloud. It kind of offloads you as a developer, not having have to worry as much about, so to speak, right, managing, babysitting all of these clusters. I mean, they're complicated, don't get me wrong, but they are more infrastructural side of things. So it doesn't kind of directly concern with you having, as a developer, having had to solve business problems, right? For example, your transactions, all of these things. And you much rather be dealing with the algorithms. How do you deal with money, move from here and there, debit and credit, adding and subtracting, all of these. How do you do all of these things, calculating interest, for example? rather than worrying about, okay, now we got to worry about another infrastructural thing underneath the hood. We need to take care of that. And if you have to do infrastructural things, then it takes time away from doing development. So that's the goal. And I think that's kind of one part of why, it's becoming kind of so important, this Pulsar. Another thing too is that Pulsar, oh, and by the way, right, and if folks, if you wanted to read up about it, of course, you can go to Pulsar, apache.org. So this is the website of Pulsar. Actually, I've been talking about it, didn't actually share with you that. So let me kind of quickly kind of show you that. I thought I have that Pulsar. Here we go. So this is the site, right? So let me kind of move it out of the way a little bit. So yes, so folks, if you want to read up a bit more about this, please visit this site. And like I said, right there's actually many things too when you think about messaging systems. It's not just the message passing. What do you do, right? Like messages, do they get retained on the system? If they get retained, how do you retrieve older messages? And what about huge chunks of messages, right? They can't all be traveling in a narrow pipeline, so to speak, right? All at once. And we need to do it in chunks and things like that. So all of these things too, Pulsar also has capability of kind of breaking up large messages into chunks, all of these things. So all of those are being also documented here. If you go to the doc, then you can, kind of read up on all of these concepts and architecture, all of these things, right? So the thing I want to point out to you is the georeplication. This is an interesting feature. So it's basically saying that regardless of any, kind of industries, right? When an unforeseen event occurs and brings day-to-day operations to a halt, then an organization needs a better disaster recovery kind of plan to try to restore, right? The resiliency is very important too. So anyway, so you could be having like a global data center for a huge company. So these centers are all scattered throughout the world. And then you need to also do replication between these different centers. So this particular example will be in the US, in Asia Pacific, or like European Union, right? So all of these, they are running, kind of similar thing. You need to replicate them. Now, that's the nice thing about the georeplication in Pulsar is that you may be asking too, is like, well, there are certain rules that exist in certain continents. Let's say, give for examples, GDPR, right? I think it's called data protection, some law in Europe, right? That protects people's privacy data, maybe general. Okay, let's take a look. Sometimes too, with this kind of thing, we can kind of take a look. GDPR. Yeah, General Data Protection Regulation. So this one too is particularly, if you go to them, they are a European law kind of data protection policy that actually protects people's privacy too. So, given that kind of thing, right now in the US, in North America, there isn't such a unified kind of policy equivalent of the GDPR yet, not yet. But I'm aware of, let's say, individual states such as California has some law that's kind of similar to this GDPR, but it's not across all states, not yet on the federal level. But in any event, going back to the georeplication is that, so in this particular case, right, you want to be able to replicate. However, there are certain data that's governed by law in the EU that cannot be, copy over just like that. So what do you do? So in Pulsar, the georeplication feature already allows you to do selection, like message replication selection. So you basically can say, well, I want to replicate, but there are certain sets of data I do not want to replicate because you don't want to do that. And so basically, too, the georeplication mechanism in Pulsar does have that capability. So which makes it very nice, right? So some of these things are kind of certainly very much a convenience, so to speak, in there. And again, even like over here, it explains it's asynchronous too, meaning that, basically your nodes can be all active while replication is being done too, and that type of stuff. So basically, it's composed of multiple physical clusters that's set up in different data centers. So messages produced on a Pulsar topic, they are first persisted to the local cluster and then replicated asynchronously to the remote clusters by brokers. Asynchronously meaning that you don't have to wait. Essentially, it can be sent at any time. In normal cases, right here it talks about when there are no connectivity issues, then messages are replicated immediately at the same time as they are dispatched to local consumers. So typically, end-to-end delivery latency is defined by the network round-trip time between the data centers. Applications can create producers and consumers in any of the clusters, even when the remote clusters are not reachable. So asynchronous dual replication provides lower latency but may result in weaker consistency guarantees due to the potential replication lag that some data hasn't been replicated. So it is pretty interesting if you kind of wanted to read up about it, right? And so basically, that's essentially what this is, right? And also too, wanting to point out again, right? There's also mentioning bookkeeper. So again, just wanted to point out too is that in Pulsar is that Pulsar doesn't manage these log messages by itself, and it essentially delegates it to another library framework called Bookkeeper, and is another Apache project, so open source project. So very much this whole framework, this whole platform is all open source too. So Bookkeeper is the one that's kind of managing these huge sets of log messages. But the thing is, Bookkeeper, that's his job. It is a very efficient kind of an accountant. Think of it like an accountant keeps track of every single record. Everything that happens is being tracked there. It's also guarantee, integrity, all of these things. So anyway, so I just want to bring this up too, is that, there's also synchronous dual replication via Bookkeeper as well. So I won't get into all of the details here, but if you're interested in all of these replication patterns and all of these, replication, active, all of these, please feel free to read up on here too. So that's kind of one feature of it. Another thing that's being talked about is basically the multi-tenancy. So multi-tenancy is actually also very interesting in the sense that basically what it is, right? Think of it like, and I like to kind of use some analogy. It's like us, let's say an apartment building, right? A lot of times, some folks too, especially when you start out, you're a student, you get your first job, you'll be renting an apartment. Anyway, so talking about apartment is like a place where people live. So think of these are like Pulsar managing all of the data. It's like in an apartment building kind of scenario. And basically, it's divided up into different units. Each of them is kind of independently operating by itself too, but yet the whole thing together, it forms the whole unit, right, in the cluster. So essentially, think of it like that. So, and this makes it pretty nice. This multi-tenants concept, because it can be spread across clusters, and each have their own authentication and authorization scheme applied to them. So it's like, think of us living in apartment buildings. We're in different units, but we all have some of the basic amenities like the kitchen area, the bathrooms, the bedrooms, all of these things. But yet individually, we want to design things differently. We want to have different arrangement of our furniture, things like that, right? So that's essentially the same thing. But of course, too, for a messaging system, then we are talking about dealing with all of the messages, and we have to kind of administer them accordingly, right? And the storage quota, message time to live, all of these things. And that's another thing about messaging systems is this managing messaging. You can't let messages live forever. So basically, if they haven't been acknowledged, for example, you have to put certain kind of constraints on it. So if they don't get processed properly, you might want to go by you. That's why you need the policy to say TTL, time to live. So let's say if it passed the time and it hasn't been acknowledged, you have to move them off the queue, basically off to another queue that says, okay, it's done, I don't care, something like that. So in other words, all kinds of policy that you need to do with them, right? So all right, so here's kind of just a very quick run through of what it is. And if you're interested, right, this page would describe a bit more about these concepts of multi-tenancy. So So, okay, so there's also this one thing, right? There are also topic compaction too. So basically, it's persistent storage, but you also want to deal with, basically over here is like, Pulsar was built with highly scalable persistent storage of message data as a primary objective. Pulsar topics enable you to persistently store as many unacknowledged messages as you need while preserving message ordering too. By default, Pulsar stores all unacknowledged and unprocessed messages produced on a topic. So accumulating many unacknowledged messages on the topic is necessary for many Pulsar use cases, but it can become, kind of a, you can put strain on the system because for example, there are some, it can also be very time sensitive, intensive for Pulsar consumers to rewind through the entire log of messages like that. So that's why too sometimes, right? Some cases too is that the consumers don't need a complete image of the topic log, and they may only need a few values to construct a more shallow image of the log, perhaps even just the most recent value, right? For these kind of use cases, then that's when like Pulsar offers this topic compaction. When you run compaction on a topic, so Pulsar would go through a topic's backlog and removes messages that are obscured by later messages. It goes through the topic on a per key basis and leaves only the most recent message associated with that key. So in that case, you are like compacting, kind of like trim, so to speak, right? Trim that whole set of log messages so it enables consumers to try to search through this log easier, too fast, little more efficient. So that's the idea. So that's another kind of a feature that's kind of specific to Pulsar too. Okay, so all of these things, right? Like I said, please feel free to read on them. But in the meantime, too, what I was kind of thinking of looking into, so give you an idea is that I introduce you to my friend Ko, and Ko is based in Amsterdam. So and good friend, and he's also a speaker too, but he's not a full-time speaker like I am, although I'm encouraging him he should become a speaker, more full-time speaker. He's been presenting a lot of times, are mostly in Europe at this point. So he presented topics on Kafka, and that's how we met too. And then we are like, oh, that's so interesting. I myself, I haven't done as much Kafka stuff, but for him, he's done. Also, he hasn't done anything with Pulsar yet. So both of us are saying that, well, you know what? Let's why don't we study together, find some comparison of it. But the thing is, the idea is that with messaging systems are kind of nice is that you can play nice too. There's no sense of kind of fighting, so to speak, or kind of being competing needlessly. The key is to try to find, use cases that can make use of each accordingly. And basically, each has its own advantages and disadvantages. So we want to come up with a use case in which basically he'll be using, let's say he's using Kafka to do certain messaging input ingestion and then doing all of the kind of message transformation. And in fact, he was showing me the Kafka stream in which you can actually operate all of the messages, kind of like how you do like using Java stream, in which you're like functional style of programming. You can basically say the stream comes in, you serialize data, and you can do a map or flat map or filter, all of these things. And he's able to use Kafka stream to do it. It's actually interesting on Pulsar is that there isn't like explicit way of doing things like that. However, in Pulsar, there's a feature called Pulsar Functions. And so functions might be one of the ways of how we can use for essentially transforming data. So Lambda style, like over here, right? So if we kind of go to Pulsar Functions, so it basically helps to consume the messages from one or more Pulsar topics and then apply a user's applied processing logic to each message and then publish the results of the computation to another topic. And so to speak, like you can say to another topic or to a sink, right? A sink is kind of where you collect all the data that has been processed or transformed. So that's the idea. So that's what I'm kind of looking into. I believe that we can use Pulsar function and then basically using Kafka stream. So these are the things I'm kind of like experimenting with. So the idea is that Ko already has done some talks, right, on Kafka, and one of the most recent ones, in fact, was what he did for JetBrains, IntelliJ. He was speaking for one of the meetups too. So let's kind of look for it. I actually didn't tell him about I'm going to talk about him. I think he's gonna get a kick out of it. Let me maybe invite him to join me next time too if he can. But he's again, based in Europe. If I start my stream so late, it might be a little too late for him. So, and by the way, I think Morocco unfortunately lost the game. But okay, so code Turk, if I Turk do IntelliJ, okay, here we go. So this is the like section session that he did actually. Yeah, see, it's kind of got 7,000. Oh my gosh, he's got 7,500 view. Yeah, it's actually very good too. I myself actually need to watch this, but I haven't got time yet. But we kind of just recently came together and wanting to do talks together. And in fact, that's our first thing is to do some comparison of Kafka and Pulsar, and then basically to build a use case together using both technologies. So anyway, so this is his talk, but I encourage you if you want to, kind of I should advertise him for him. He's a good guy. So okay, so I'll share with you over here too. So Turk's talk on Kafka with live coding for the JetBrains. I think it's it's for JetBrains meetup, essentially online meetup. So just share with you here, right? So if you guys want to watch that too, I think it would be great, because that's the thing. I'm planning to watch this because that's the idea, is if I can take his example and then use it to and use Pulsar to do what he did, by using Kafka. I think that would be interesting. But in any event, the thing is, he actually shared with me his. So that's where I was, right? He shared with me his GitHub too. So if you go to his GitHub, I think it's the Kafka one. So I kind of, I think it's on the video too, but let me kind of share it too. So goes GitHub repo for his Kafka projects. It would be funny if I kind of told him that I share it here. I think he would really like it too. Like I said, maybe next week if he's open, because these 2 weeks are starting to be holidays, especially in the U.S. and I think Europe as well, most of the places, right? I suppose like most of the world too are having some sort of holidays, even if you're not celebrating kind of directly, right? But there will be holidays everywhere. So probably December is a month of more like a rest kind of thing. But in any event, so folks may not be available. But let me ask Cole if he's ready or if he's available. I can invite him here, and we can both start to talk about this kind of rather exciting topic, I think. So let's take a look. Oh, okay. I think I'm not doing the right thing in here, and let me see. Okay. I should do it over here. And okay, so that's his okay, his what you call his GitHub, right? So let me see. I think he told me he has done multiple things. Yeah, we met at Java Day Istanbul. That's where I saw his Kafka talk. But I think his live coding one is a payment engine. So we can kind of take a look into it here too. Event streaming applications with Kafka streams, Spring Kafka, and Actuator too. So now these things I'm not as familiar. I haven't worked with Kafka stream. So that's the thing I wanted to look at is this particular example, and then basically use Pulsar to do it too. And why am I still sharing with you that thing? And so give me a second. I think I need to hide this. Okay, so it won't be blocking. So sorry about that. Okay, so we'll kind of take a look into it here, and he's basically using IDE is using IntelliJ, using Java 11 and Maven, which is optional, and Docker. That's right, because we spoke briefly too. We're starting to talk about it. So you have to prepare your machine well in advance of the workshop, and then your time during the workshop is valuable. Okay. Anyway, so we install all of the prerequisites. So if you are interested too, you can do that. And I already have my IDE. I have my Java 11, or actually I have different versions too, and I have Docker, all of these things. So assuming that in my case I already have this, we get a copy of this repository and the exercises, right? Okay, so exercise, and clone this repository. You know what? Why don't I clone it? Because then it's true. Then it will become easier for me to work on in my area too. So let me do that. Let me go back to here, JetBrains, or actually Kafka. Kafka. Wait, I think I should be able to. No, not add file. Main. He is still here. Oh, that's a good idea. He actually has main and then also solutions for a branch, because with the solutions, I think that's a good idea. How come I never thought of it? Because I'm gonna start also. I would like to put together some workshops, materials, so if you can follow along at your own leisure. This is a good idea because I can have the main is actually the question, giving you to work on it, and then if you want to look up, then I put the answers, the solution in another branch. And in this case, you call it solution. That's a great idea. I didn't think of it that way. But okay, so let's take a look at this payment project. Although, let me clone it. I have to clone it up on this level. So I'll just say code. Actually, code spaces. Oh, I can actually do code spaces too. My workspace is in the cloud. I can do it like that too, right? Yeah. Why not, right? Actually, I want to create also on the not just the main, but I think it doesn't let me do that. Let me take a look. All right, so I wanted to see if I can actually clone a branch, but it doesn't appear to let me do it. So in that case, what I'll do is let me just create. What does this do? Oh, it's setting up my code space now. I guess I must have done the right thing. Oh, that's all. So that's all I was doing too. I click on that this guy. I just say code and then code spaces and I say plus, and it already kind of start my branch. Well, my own basically on the code space. So yeah, may as well do it like that. Why not, right? Let's give it a try. Okay. So while this is being set up, we can kind of take a look. It looks like it's still going. So let me kind of make it a little bigger. So here I am. Ah, there we go. Okay, wow, that is pretty cool. This code spaces. So yeah, let's kind of follow along and kind of work on this. Okay. So welcome to Code Spaces. You are now default image. Let me do this one thing. I think let me. Why is it? I wanted to maximize it a little bit, although I'm over here and I don't want to be like all the way because I don't want it to overtake my whole screen. So this is the one, and we're gonna work on. And okay, this is pretty cool. Okay, so now the thing is, I'm aware of the project is JetBrains a payment engine. That's the one that I want to look into using Pulsar. So let me first play with the Kafka version first. So that is so interesting. Okay, README. So let's take a look at the README in here. Okay. Okay. This is pretty cool. This code spaces. I know. Actually, I think it was Fu Snabel who brought that up to me about code spaces, but I've never used until now. And like I said, it's just been a while ago. Okay, so let's say, right? We clone this. We get to this point. We're up to this point. Now we start the basic Kafka exercises. We start Zookeeper Kafka with Docker with start.sh. Oh, good job, and he already did the start. Okay, let me go over there. We are in, this one is JetBrains. Right? It doesn't do these things. Let me do this one thing. Let me see if it works. I don't even know if it works. Ah, good. Okay, good. So I just want to set my completion. Okay, there we go. JetBrains. So this is the one, and payment engine is the one I wanted to work on. And he said to do this, we can start it. So he just said to start, but he didn't tell me which uh, folder. But let's take a look. I bet it's the basic one. Oh, basic is only. Okay, so basic is already the Java code. I don't know where he keeps the script. Common, maybe? Nope. Docker, maybe? There we go. So go to the Docker, common Docker thing, and let's run this. He said run startup start.shell. This is really cool. I like this. This code spaces. I think it's very convenient, isn't it? Okay, so not sure if anybody is here. Maybe no one is here. All right, so again, folks, if you just joined, I'm just stepping through the example, the Kafka example that Ko has, right? My co-presenter, Ko. He and I are going to start collaborating on some talks together on Kafka and Pulsar. So for me, my first step is to learn the Kafka part. So then I know what it's supposed to do, all of these things, and then use Pulsar to kind of re-implement this. So that's what I'm doing first. So I'm learning right now his trick. It's gonna take a bit of time. Oh, okay, cool. So it brings it up. It's already running, and I can do open in browser too. Okay, cool. So he has implemented using Spring, right? It's a Kafka UI application. Okay, very cool. That's cool. All right, well, I can open in browser and see what forwarded port. Oh, okay. Well, that's fine. It's not really expected to be running. It's still, of course, it's still starting. It looks like. Actually, let me do that. Let me make it a little bit bigger in here. So I think now is good. So it started. Is a Jetty server that's HTTP serving, right? And started listening for requests. Okay, and let's do that. So the ports auto forward, local address. Okay, all these things. That is so interesting. Okay. Open in browser. That's the thing. There we go. Okay, very cool. So this guy is up. Basically, is running in Docker, but I can forward it the port and then see it in my local browser. But everything is running in the container right now. So good. So this is up. So let's see. So we did this part. Now in the source code, follow all the comments and begin from the config to controller to the producer and consumer. So let's kind of take a look in the SRC and see what it does, right? Okay, so go back to terminal, but although this is guys running, so I will add another terminal in here. I think it's this guy, right? Let me make sure now. Does that mean new terminal? There we go. All right, so that one is this, and then we'll go over to here. That's interesting. I guess I cannot have them both lay side to side, which is okay. Well, actually, wait, no, I'm not doing it. Is it spawning right now? No. There we go. That's what I meant. I didn't want to be completely like this. But okay, so that's fine. Let's not complicate things too much. So this one is my runtime. And this guy, let me go over here. So in the source directory, that's where we're going to go now. Let's go back to JetBrains payment. Which one is it? Streaming? Basic? Maybe? Let's take a look at the basic. He just does this too fast. Like we don't know exactly. So we're gonna guess, right? So let's say basic. We'll go to the basic directory first and see what it has, right? So it has the POM file, right? And then all of these two, what is it? AVSC, application properties. So these are, he's using Spring to set this up too. I'm aware. So, okay, so there are also tests. A good job. He also has some tests too. So, okay, so follow all the comments and begin from the config to controller. So, all the comments. Okay, this is always kind of interesting. Comments. Okay, let's take a look at the POM file first. How, you know what? Let's kind of open up here. We can look at it like this, right? Okay, so see over here, we know it is a Spring Boot app. He's using that, and then okay, so he has his own thing and demo project, all of these stuff. So he's using Java 11. So pretty basic, nothing too fancy in here. And then he was just saying that look into the comments, right? Let's also take a look at this POM for the basic directory. Okay, there are these Avro format is the Avro Confluent using Kafka Streams Avro 30, whatever that means, and then it's Spring Kafka and the test and all of these things. So pretty standard, I would imagine. He's using Lombok for the boilerplate stuff. Okay, all right, so that's good. Let's take a look then in the main thing config. He said start with config. Okay, so topic configuration. Let's take a look. So he's just talking about here. Do you want to install recommended extensions for Java? What are the thing extensions pack? IntelliCode, AI assisted. How about that? Language support for Java, debugger, Maven test runner. Should we do that? Well, I guess that's fine too. We can release version. Let's do that. Just it may be helpful, I suppose. Yeah. Okay, let's kind of then go back here while it's doing this. And it's basically on the config level, we are looking at configuration, topic configuration. We create topics from code with Spring's topic builder. Okay, so how do I do that? 7.1. He doesn't have. Okay, now what is it? Do you want to install the dependency analytics? Oh, I guess I'm kind of blocking all of you. So let me do this one thing. I'm gonna get myself out of the way a little bit. Oh, actually, you know what? I have a meeting in 20 minutes, but let's kind of maybe get through this part. Okay, how about that? Let me do this one thing. I think I'm kind of blocking all of you, so let me kind of shrink myself down a little bit. Okay, move myself over here so you can see this better. So it says, do you want to install the dependency analytics extension to stay informed about vulnerable dependencies in POM? Well, later. How about that? Let's not worry about it. Okay, but it looks like this extension thing might be done. That was fast. Language support, debugger, test runner, Maven, project manager, IntelliCode. Okay, all right, that's good. Okay, so let's not worry about it. Now it is there. So here, I think this is our first thing to do is basically put together the topic configuration. Again, topic, right? In a messaging broker type of system, a topic is what the sender will send the messages to, right? So we need to configure this topic. It's a way to tell the broker how it should be routing the messages. So let's see. I need to kind of try to figure out how we create topics from code with Spring's topic builder. You know what we can do? Let's take a look at the solutions because it's just no sense of spending too much time on it at the moment. So let's go back over here. Where's my thing? Okay, here we go. All right, let's take a look at the solutions. Oh, his solutions. Guess what? Is in a different branch. So let's go back to our Git. Let's go over there. Not to say we should do this all the time, but for now, for the sake of time, I only have 20 more minutes before I have to get on a meeting. So let me kind of take a look so then we can kind of follow along and look at it. So go to solutions. Okay, so go to solution and JetBrains payment engine. Okay, so we're looking at basic. Going look at source solutions, right? Basic config. Okay, let's take a look now. Okay, this is the solution. Here we go. All right, so this means that we probably need to actually take a look into Kafka's documentation to do it. But for now, we kind of take a shortcut and look at the example and essentially study it a little and copy them over. How about that? So first, create the topics, right, from the code with Spring's topic builder. So, okay, so we use the bean annotation and basically set it up so it's the method that was called, let's say, balance this topic. And essentially is we're doing a topic builder dot name, name of the topic. How many partition? One, right? Replicas, one. Compact. Topic compaction is already being applied there. Remember, we talk about topic compaction. The idea is that this way all of the topics, the messages are arranged by keys. So then basically only the latest copy of the messages with the same key is being retrieved. So then you essentially trim your set of topics and all the messages. So that's the idea. So actually, that's interesting. So essentially, it means that Kafka already does compaction, although I need to do a bit more comparison because Pulsar also has topic compaction, but I think there are some differences in there. So that's something I need to look at. Okay, so that's how we set it up. So essentially, it's a topic, use topic builder, dot name, and then dot partitions, dot replicas, dot compact, and then do the build, right? Dot build. And here is example would create like 5 different topics. So okay, so let's do this then. In this case, what we could do is basically copy these. May as well. Okay, so let me kind of copy them, go back to my code space here, and awesome. So this is good. I think it's looking good now. So that's what I just did, right? I basically have balance, another topic called payments, and then another one called fraud, blacklist, and rewards. So these are the 5 topics we created. Okay, so that's good. So let's say, this, we get it done now. And so what's the next thing in this case? Oh, you know what? Not just this one, right? Config, we also have controller too. So, okay, so that's very cool. Config is set up. So let's take a look at the controller, payment controller. Let's see what to do. So essentially, too, is a REST controller over here using the annotation and the required arcs for constructor over here. And this is how we do post. Doing the mapping for that would be this, right? Doing a process payment will essentially process the payment. Producer will process the payment, and then doing a create payment, and then it returns the response entity. If it's all good, essentially, if the process payment comes back good, right, for the payment part, then it will basically come back and with an OK 200 status of created payment, right? Otherwise, too, we will return a status of some error. We catch the error, the HTTP error status, and essentially returns that inside the response entity. And so that's what we do. And the create payment in here. Oh, so that's the thing we need to do is to create the payment. So, all right, so create payment is actually being used by this call to the payment producer, doing a dot process payment. So, all right, so let's take a look again. We'll take a look at the solution to see what to do with this. Okay, so we just got done with this. Let's go back to our basic, example, we go into the controller, payment controller, over here. So this is what we need to do, is create a payment. So the payment, all we need to do is basically is using the example payment, do a payment.new builder, and then do set name, set amount, all of these things, and set IBAN. I think set to IBAN, these are the different code that are needed, right, for money transfer using the IBAN system, I think. So, and then set process is true, and then dot build. Okay, so this is an example. So we could kind of copy this part and plug it into our controller. Okay, actually then won't be returned. No, right? It's basically return this. Okay, actually, let me kind of okay, this one here. Let's oops. Okay, there we go. So this, we have set up the payment in the payment controller. Okay, good. Now we then look into exception. We have to take a look. I guess looks like the exception is all good now. It's just a filter exception that extends the runtime exception. And then essentially the exception is just pretty standard, right? It just takes the string of message and then make a call to the super, to the parent, passing it the message. So, okay, so this one looks like it's good. I don't think we need to do anything. And then basically now, then let's take a look at the Kafka consumer, also the Kafka producer. Let's take a look at the producer first. So if you kind of take a look into it here, right, and apparently there's an example Afro project too. So what it does is, if we kind of look into here, it is being annotated as a component for this Kafka producer. Also uses SLF4J, the logger. And over here too, 2.2 is what we need to work on, is create Kafka string with the string and payment template too. That's what we need to do. And let's take a look, create the Kafka. So how do we create template? So let's take a look at the solution. Let's go back here, basic, Kafka, producer. So that's all is needed right now. Basically just declare it, I think. Or no, actually it's I think maybe that's all is needed. This is not, this is just declare, right? Private final Kafka template, and it's basically having the this the type using account and specific record base. So let's see if it's doing the same thing. Oh, okay. So it's actually didn't do that yet. So that's what we need to do. How much time do I have left? I think I have about 5 to 10 minutes or so. So let me try to maybe complete this part of this solution for the basic controller first. So okay, so it looks like we need to do the Kafka template, right? And the string here is what? Oh, just the account. Oh, account is a string. Okay, well, and then specific. So it takes the string. Template takes the account and the specific record base, and then essentially declare this as the Kafka template. So. And then it's Kafka template. That's what is needed, right? Let's see. Yep, Kafka template, specific like that. Okay, so we got this one set up for the Kafka template. The next thing we do is basically to send the transaction. So remember, yeah, that's right. So remember, in the controller, we did a call from producer doing a dot process payment and takes in the payment record base and also then the topic too. So now with that, then what we do is send the transaction. So I bet then it would be like a Kafka template dot send, something like that. So let's take a look. Here we go. Yeah, something like that. So over here, send transaction. That's what we need. Okay, let's do that. We can copy this too. It's basically making a call to send transaction and then to the topic, which is pass in a topic and the account. So then the account will be, we need to construct the account and call Mr. Blue and the IBAN number, whatever that is, and payment like that, the payment that get passed in. And then the next thing we do is basically then doing a send transaction, and then essentially logging the information to, and also send exception. So if there's any exception, then we will have to do, must be like if, basically if, or actually, no, do we do a try catch or something? Do we catch if it's some sort of exception, then we send the exception. Let's take a look how to do it. Okay. Here we go. So basically 2 is, interesting. So basically, in this case, is that we won't explicitly say, being told, there's some error. We basically have to take a look at the message that's sent. The message already kind of contains the code telling you whether it is, it's basically over here. If the message is payment, and then if this message get the IBAN equals. So we basically, in this particular case, is to kind of verify the IBAN number. And of course, in reality, we probably don't want to have like an IBAN number or any kind of identification pass in kind of hard coded, I don't think. But say for, this is only for illustration purpose, right? There's another level of complexity if you want to bring in all of the proper security measures you need to do to any kind of application coding. So for these, just an example. So we can kind of use this example, or at least kind of know what the mechanics is to do, right? We basically have to take a look into the message and make sure, okay, if the message that comes in is actually an instance of payment, then we want to then go in and check to make sure, okay, is the IBAN number correct? If it isn't, or actually, wait, if the IBAN equals this number, then the filter is basically calling it a interesting. Now, I don't understand the logic. It almost seems like if it's not equals to that, then there's an error. But for some reason, it's saying in this case, if it is equals that, okay, well, we'll take it in there. And so basically, if we identify an exception, right, and basically we know it is some filter exception, then we basically throw this exception up, right? It's basically throw it up, so it gets propagated upward. So okay, so that's the idea. So we can then kind of take a look at this exception. Wait. Okay. Okay. All right, so that's what is needed. We essentially do that, right? We identify if it is message instance is an instance of payment. If this payment message get the IBAN, if it equals to this particular number, it is actually a filter exception. And so in that case, then we will throw this exception up the chain. So, okay, so otherwise, that means everything is good. Then basically we can then send this topic payments and then send the message. So let's see how we're doing it. All we need to do in this case is just doing a Kafka template send. That means everything's checked out okay. Okay, well, in reality, if it can be this simple, it's great. But for now, I think it's a good way to at least understand, the flow, how it works. So that's pretty cool. So we did now the producer. So that's how it's being done. Okay, now let's then I think I have roughly 5 minutes. So let's take a look at the payment consumer. If we can get this part, then I think we should be pretty good. And there might be the payment engine application too. So let's see if we have time for that. But first of all, let's take a look. Consumer. So this particular example basically have both the client both clients, the consumer and the producer, all within the same operating unit, right, so to speak. So but that's okay. This is for testing purpose, right? So sometimes too, though, we know that in reality, we can be having separate clients doing producing, and then you have all kinds of clients can be outside of your local area network. In this case, it's a Docker thing, so everything's contained. But you can actually be, let's say if you were doing like a Pulsar, we actually have, a topic producing, or a producer producing messages to a topic, and basically it's out there. Think of it out in the wild, so to speak. But then of course you need the credential. So if I'm consuming, I need the credential in order to connect to the topic and receive messages when they come. So okay, but in this particular case, everything is within the same Docker container. So let's take a look, right? So here it is doing a consume. So we create the listener with topic payments and group ID. So, okay, so all we need to do is the consume. And basically the consume, what does it consume? It takes in a consumer record of, the template would be like type of, any is this kind of question, I think, in this particular case. All right, so let's take a look. I think maybe that's what he wants us to fill in these two. Taking in that, I bet it's consumer record of, is it like topic and also the specific record base or something, or the account? Okay, let's take a look. All right, let's go back in here. With Kafka, we go into consumer now. So actually that's interesting too. This is solutions, and basically topic is payments. Okay, so we're going to be listening on the topic, the payment topic, and then basically consume it as it comes. Receive this. Oh, so maybe there isn't much to do, or do we need to do something? Create the listener. So consume. Oh, we need to create the listener. So essentially, this guy, we do need to actually use the annotation Kafka listener. That's okay. This one is actually, some of these is sort of like a puzzle. He code didn't give out the full step by step, and some things too we need to kind of figure it out. But that's all okay. So we need the Kafka listener in this case, and the consume is actually all good. So basically, it's listening on it. It's basically, it won't act on it until there's a record. There's messages that comes, and then it will consume, and that's what it is doing, right? And okay, now then if it is there, once the consume is being called, when there are messages that comes, and we have to receive this payment, casting it and set it. So let's kind of take a look now. So all we need to do basically here is just consume record dot value. It's basically get the payment and then set the payment. The set payment is essentially, we just kind of, again, boilerplate, and this is the payment consumer, and that's how he does it, is just set the payment within this payment consumer. So okay, let's kind of do this. Okay, so that's what we do. Now the set payments all good. So I think we got this part done. Okay, do we have like 1 minute? Maybe we'll take a real quick look into the payment engine application. I think this is all good now. We don't need to do anything. This one essentially is the entry point of this Spring Boot app. So we label it with annotation Spring Boot application, the class payment engine application, and the main will just simply be spring application.run, and passing in the payment engine application.class and the arcs. These are standard kind of boilerplate. Okay, so I think that's pretty much good. This one, I don't know why it's kind of still lit up. It almost seems like we didn't do anything. So let's take a look in here. Let's take a look into the basic exception. Do we actually need to do anything? I think we're all set. Yeah, nothing else, right? All we need to do, extend runtime exception, and essentially then the constructor is taking the message and calling the parent super message. Okay, so then I think we're good, in terms of this particular set of exercises, right? And based on Co's instruction in here, the README. So as SRC code, we basically did it to produce a consumer. Then execute embedded Kafka integration test. All right, so I don't know if it would all work. I have 2 minutes to go. Let me kind of take a look over here. The test, let's go over here. Embedded this test. So let's see. If I double click it, will it run? No. Run. Let's say run. Requires Java language server to run in standard mode. Okay, let's see. Let's see what happens, right? And if it runs, will be good. It just might take a bit of time, and I have about 3 minutes, and then I do need to go for my meeting. So, it needs to import the project, so that might take a bit of time, is what it is. There are problems. Let's see what the problems are. Oops. So, okay, so that's what it is. Ooh, so I think I have all sorts of, I think, when I copy in, I actually copying. Wait, I think I'm okay, isn't it? This is all together, and this guy. Yeah, why is it complaining? Anyway, I'm sure that it looks as though some silly thing, insert identifier to complete constructor header name. Okay, so those are the kind of things I need to work through debugging, because I won't have time now, within the next 2 minutes to fix all of these problems. So I'll cancel them for now. But at least too, I think the good news is that we're able to get through that first set of exercises, the basic configuration controller, producer, consumer code. And so the next time we can meet and is trying to run this too. Now, if I have time tomorrow, I can actually continue working on it. And if so, maybe I'll also have a Twitch stream. Why not, right? And while I'm working on it. So then folks like yourself, if you're interested to watch it while I'm doing it, you can also take a look too. So, all right. So with that, I wanted to thank you. I don't know who else is here today. Very quiet today. But that's all okay, because I did not stream for a long time, so I was not expecting folks to be here, and I did not tell people ahead of time, because I was thinking I was kind of a bit kind of like a phantom floating around for a while, not doing streams. So folks are probably thinking I'm not coding, but today I actually did some coding, although it's a bit more like boilerplate kind of code, not real coding. I won't call it, but still useful. It's going to be for my work to do Pulsar, to convert this set of code into using Pulsar. So that should be an interesting part. So with that, I wanted to thank you. Thank you again for having joined me today. And I hope you find it useful. And then I hope to see you at the next stream. So follow me if you haven't already done so. And then let me do this one thing, which is to share my Discord. I'll share my Discord server again. So if you're interested, please consider joining my Discord server, and we can have more conversation around this topic and any other thing. All right, then let me kind of drag and move around so then you can see this better. And you all have a great evening or day or morning, wherever you are. Okay, thanks a lot. Okay, bye. Bye.